I can start us off with this one. I do understand why a lot of people look at networking and think it's kind of this like gross activity where, oh, I'm just asking people for something. But I think there's so many different ways to look at it that don't have to feel that way. And I kind of think that anytime you talk about networking or just building relationships with people, the three things I think about is like coming at it with a curious mind, um, often coming at it from a place of service, and then ultimately through visibility. So curiosity meaning that you're not just, because the idea really is that networking isn't for when you don't start it when you need something. You start it just because, and you keep doing it just because you want to have these relationships. You want to know people in your industry or your field or just people you're interested in. And then you keep those relationships warm so that when you need them, you have them. So I think that's where often that idea comes in, like, oh, I'm looking for a new job. Now I have to network. Ideally, what happens is you already have this network of people set up that when you do need a job or you need help, you can just go to the people you know. Oh, I know that Jen's really good at this. I'm just going to contact her. And I'm not coming at her out of the blue asking for a favor. Like we already have this relationship. So coming at it out of curiosity, meaning like who is interesting to you, right? So I mean, LinkedIn is kind of the obvious platform that we talk about a lot these days, is trying to follow people, interact with people that you like. um, what are people posting, right? Like sometimes people might share an article like, oh, you find that interesting, maybe that's when you reach out to someone just to start to build that relationship with them. In terms of service, I found one of the best ways to network is through volunteer work. Is you're not there to network, but it's just going to happen because you end up meeting all these different people. I'm currently on the board for Women in Communications and Technology, which is a national organization. So I'm on the board for the Toronto chapter, but that already, I'm being of service. It is something I'm curious about. And the really nice thing is I'm also meeting all these women from different organizations that now I have in my network. And then again, as I mentioned, I can keep those relationships warm. And the last part about visibility is your network is the way that you can advocate for yourself and how you can be visible and showcase what you're interested in, what you've done, what your accomplishments are. Um, so again, LinkedIn being a very clear example is if you've done something, even if it's if it's for school that you're proud of, like talk about it on LinkedIn, like show it off, because the way that 80% of how jobs get passed on isn't always because I've told someone I'm interested in a job and then they know someone and they know someone. Within your network, often what happens is that if you have a sort of a good like brand and you're advocating for yourself, you're saying like, this is what I'm interested in, this is what I want to be working on, something opens up and people already are thinking of you. It's not that you're clawing and fighting and trying to get in there. It's like, oh, I don't even have to think about this. I might not even have to post this because I know that this person is already interested and is curious. So I think that's the approach I like to take with networking. That's a lot more kind of organic and just genuine versus I'm just going to reach out to this person because they have a job I want and I'm just going to ask them for a favor. But if you are reaching out to people that you don't know, I think just coming from that place of curiosity of like, not like I really need your help, but I'm just so curious about what you do, or I'd love to just chat a little bit longer or just a little bit about your company or your workplace or whatever it may be. I think that goes a long way.
Sure. I think all of that was really super awesome advice right there that you just got. I think to add to it, I think I would say that even if you're not comfortable at first, you can learn it. I mean, for me, I'm a natural introvert, and then I did a lot of customer service throughout, later years of high school and throughout my undergraduate degree. And so I just had to become comfortable talking to people, in all kinds of people who were in all kinds of moods. And you have to kind of keep it together and just smile and nod and whatever. And it was such a valuable learning experience. And I learned I don't really want to do frontline customer service as a career. That's not my thing. But the skills that I got from it were so valuable. And from that, I became just more comfortable talking to anyone. And yeah, that curiosity that, I think probably all of you have that anyway. You're curious about humans. That's why you're taking anthropology. So just extend that to whoever you meet. I mean, it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to necessarily be talking to people about jobs. I mean, one of my best friends, she was actually my personal trainer at a gym I joined, and that's how I met her. And then we have mutual interests, and she's such an anthropological mind naturally, so it's really interesting. And now she's trying to start up a not-for-profit around for people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and so we've got these connections, that our love of learning and curiosity about people and all of these things, and then some of my connections might be able to help her with that, and you know what I mean. So it's that organic thing that Zenia was saying is so important, and you just never know who is going to lead you to what. I mean, I could never have imagined that meeting a primatologist at a at a random Earth Day event in Burlington would lead to us developing a really cool program together that we is really fulfilling for us, and we love, and we're super excited about. Like, I never would have known. I was just being nosy. So be nosy, be curious about people. I think that was really, really great advice.
Yeah, I think curiosity is the key word. If you approach your conversations with people who you'd like to connect with curiosity, and pairing that with listening more than you talk. So making that your priority. And that involves using things like active listening principles. So when someone is saying something to you, pausing before you respond and repeating, sort of paraphrasing back to them what it is that they said to you before you share your thoughts, that can go a long way, and it can sometimes clarify what they mean, or provide them with an opportunity to say more. And when you let people talk about themselves in a positive way, they'll leave that conversation feeling better than they did before. And that's the kind of relationship that you need to cultivate in the workplace, basically, to get ahead. And it sounds kind of Machiavellian when it's put that way, or diabolical or something, but it's part of being a keen observer of humans and the way that they interact. And if you're putting that positive energy into your interactions, then you're really making the effort to understand where someone's been, and what the circumstances they're under now, or they're working in now, and where they want to go. Then ultimately that's going to do you well in the end, personally or professionally. And to the point about it being gross, I think there can be that perception, and I don't always relish it, but when you find someone that you admire professionally and that you're legitimately interested in, it becomes very easy to ask them questions because maybe you kind of want to be like them. And so there's a sense in which we need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that's where the sort of the personal growth happens. And if you're engaging with that on a daily basis, if you're committed to continuously learning and growing as a person, part of that is listening to others, and trying your best to understand where they're coming from, and developing relationships with. It may or may not go anywhere. Maybe you do just find a really great friendship out of it, or a great professional working relationship that doesn't lead to jobs. But again, like speaking to what I said before about reputation, if you get known as someone who is good at those skills, that will ultimately open doors for you. So I'd say networking for me is more of a perspective about how to interact with people than it is this sort of targeted conversation where you're trying to get something out of someone else. And I think that speaks to what Xenia and Jen were both saying. Sorry, I have